Okay, let's get started. Okay. Alright, so as always, this is the Sausage Sports Club weekly update stream. Today is July 16th. And today was a really good week. I got a lot done. And I also, after last week, I just kind of like rambled in a bunch of different directions the whole time. I did a little practice and like wrote down what I wanted to talk about this week. So we can get into that. First, as usual, I want to say at the start, the reason I do this stream, there's a couple reasons. One, I think it has the potential to be useful for students and new developers and people interested in game development but unclear about what it's really like to make a commercial game and make a game over a long period of time. It's obviously it's useful from a marketing perspective of just like talking about the game so that people know it exists and know what's cool about it from my perspective. And then also I think it's going to be useful to look back on 5-10 years from now when I'm farther in my career and have made more games, just to see like what my process was like and what I learned and when I made decisions as a designer that like influenced my future games and design. I think it'll be a cool thing to look back on. So yeah, with that said, just get into it. So this week I got a bunch of stuff done. Like I said before, what's up, John? I'm streaming just as a heads up. So last week I spent some time working on the frog mesh. I haven't finished that. I haven't worked on it anymore since then, but here's where I got with it. Last week I just kind of roughed in. I'm gonna pause the music. I just kind of roughed in the mesh with like simple shapes and like pulled it around to get the basic shape of the picture. I still think it looks a little weird, but it's pretty close. The next step is going to be, I'm not going to do all of it right now, but it's going to be taking a plane and subdividing it and like slowly making it match this shape so that I have like one contiguous mesh like the gator here. But I haven't gotten to that yet. And I'm leading with this because I think that's what we're going to work on at the end of the stream. I'm just going to spend some time working on that. But that's what we did last week. Getting to what we did this week, let's look at the Junkyard, which is the latest finished level. And I did a bunch of work on it this week to get it finished. The first thing I want to show you is that we got a rough draft of the music from Tom. This is still really early. It hasn't been like mastered or anything. I didn't ask him if he's okay with me showing you. I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope he's okay with it. Because I think it's really good. It's been stuck in my head in a good way all week, so I'll just play it here. I'll fly around. Looks like we're live, cool. I love this whistling. It's a little rough right now, but it's my favorite part of the song. The whistling against like a banjo-y guitar. Coffee's cold. What can we see that's interesting? Okay, so that's the song. I got that, and I really like it, and it got me hyped up to work on a game. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. Okay, so other stuff I worked on. You can see there's a bunch of like crap on the screen right now, and that's not all gonna be there all the time during the game. So I'll go through a couple of the modes and show you some stuff that I had to some data basically that I had to lay out to get the game to work. First, we're gonna look at the arena mode select, which is like in other games. Ooh, let's just mute the audio. In other games, you have like a screen where you select the mode you want to play, maybe, and maybe you have a menu where you select the arena you want to play. In Sausage, there's like 3D spaces which you use to select your mode, and there's the overworld which you use to select your arena. So this is the mode select. Each of these trophies is a different mode. You walk up to them, hold a button, and that like starts the mode. So I have to lay this stuff out in the world, like where everything's placed, and I do that using what I label a payload system. The basic idea is that I have a prefab in Unity which like has a bunch of crap on it, and in this case that crap is that's not the right one, is like the different trophies and where they're placed and stuff. And so I make these for each different arena, and I place everything where I want it, and then when this mode loads, the game knows to go grab the Junkyard because that's the arena we're in, and it knows every arena needs a mode select payload when we go into mode select, so it does that. So I set that up. This is weirdly a lot of detail for something that's not that interesting. So I did that. Looking at we can just stay in here. We don't need to play another one. There's all these spikes, and it's basically like the hazards in the game. When you're playing certain modes, you want to be able to like knock your opponent out by knocking them onto spikes, and they'll probably respawn a bunch, but you need some hazards. So I laid these out. This center platform here, you can see there's like spikes poking through it, but this plane basically like is there in modes where there aren't spikes, and you can walk on it and you won't die. And then in modes where there are spikes, it disappears and there are spikes there, and you can like fall into this pit. It looks like that. And that's in sumo and coins. So I set that stuff up. Other gameplay stuff, I'll show you paint. I'm not gonna get too much into like how it works because it's pretty technical and not that interesting, but paint mode requires a lot of like requires like a distinct version of the level. It's basically like tagged with a certain collision layer, and then has the right like type of materials on it and the right type of colliders on it. And so I had to like manually go through and set all that stuff up as I do for each level. It's definitely the most tedious setup for any of the different game modes, but paint looks pretty cool and it's one of my favorites to play, so I think it's definitely worth it. Yeah, and there's definitely still some work to be done on paint mode. Like if I restart, you'll see sometimes I'll like walk over something or like hit something in my face, and then like another section of the map that I'm not near gets painted. Let's see if I can get that to happen. Yeah, you can see in the center, like as I'm moving, you can see you can't see my finger, but where my mouse is, that section is like getting painted a little bit. And that's not supposed to happen, but that's kind of something that I just have to like go over every little weird instance and fix it. I'm not getting into why that happens. Another thing I forgot to mention is, so in all the arenas in Sausage Sports Club, I have this like hull of colliders that keeps players in the map so that they can't escape and go like run away. And these are all made using Pro Builder. I like make a cube and then extrude a bunch and like place them such that they're kind of like mashed up against each other like Legos, so that there's no like free air between them. And that's just like my backup collision if the level geometry happens to not block players from leaving, which in this case it doesn't in a lot of the arena. An interesting thing that happened when I was laying this out is I was faced with the decision to either let or not let players get up on top of this roof. As you can see, I decided to not let them get up on this roof. And the reason is, if you get up on this roof and you go to the back edge, it's like there's nothing there to keep you visually. There's nothing there that seems like it would keep you from jumping off, and I didn't want to I don't want to change the visuals of the map. I don't want to ruin the composition by adding like a fence up there or something. So I just decided to not let players get up there. It's also not really fun to be up there for a few reasons. Like the collision of this thing is just like kind of bumpy, and you don't jitter, but you just like bounce up and down, and it like feels weird and not good to walk along. Yeah, Tom, red paint probably will get changed on this level. I might end up doing something like per level you define the paint colors just so it's like more obvious. But I haven't done that yet. I'm actually gonna keep ignoring chat just so I can like get through this quicker. Yeah, so the collision hole is like a thing I have to lay out manually. You can see I just block players from getting on the roof. On other mode setups is what my list here says. Is there anything else that I need to show you, that I want to show you? No, I think that's good. So the other cool Junkyard thing that I added this week that has made the level feel a lot more finished, where's collision? There it is these pipes. I tweeted a bit about these, and they're like cool shader animation. But I didn't talk about the gameplay of them on Twitter, and the idea is that during some of the game modes, garbage gets destroyed, or these trash bots get destroyed. I guess I'll play while I talk about this. Let's do sumo. So the gist is these trash robots like run around and jump on garbage and eat it, and every time they eat the garbage they get bigger, and then eventually, I gotta add a bot. I'm gonna do that. Let's do that and then disable that. Yeah, the idea is that the bots run around, eat garbage. Every time they eat garbage they get bigger. Once they reach a max size, then they blow up and spit garbage all over the place, and spawn another trash robot. In a mode like this where there are spikes, the trash bots can run into the garbage, or run into the spikes, or they might explode garbage and then it'll fall into the spikes, and that like depletes the resource that is garbage in this map. And so what was happening previously is that the garbage would like go down over time, and then the map would be very empty, and it would just like not look interesting, and nothing would be going on, and you could have the like physics dynamics that other levels all have to play with. And so I decided, and another issue was the visual composition of the map was just like not that interesting, especially at the front, where there was just like this big orange, using my mouse, there's this big orange area here that just like had nothing in it, and it wasn't broken up at all, and you couldn't like jump on anything, so it was kind of a twofold problem. And I had thought of the spike, or I thought of the pipes early on in making the Junkyard actually, and I just thought they wouldn't be that interesting, and I thought it would be like hard to read what they were doing, but I think it turned out pretty good. So that's the reason I added the spikes. The pipes, I mean to say. Let's look at the animation here. So when I made these pipes, I didn't want to like make a rig in Maya and like have a bunch of joints and like animate the pipe super carefully and like do the tedious process of setting all that up. So instead what I did was I animated it using a shader. And you can see here if I move this pipe, you can just see if I move this pump variable on the shader, it like goes through its animation, and it looks cool. And the general idea of the shader is that for every vert, we're like offsetting the verts some amount along their normal, and I can open. I shared the math on the web on Twitter if you want to see it, but I'll show it here too. And the idea is that there's a sine wave that moves along the pump based on the pump variable that I was like tweaking, and so that makes like a wave that's also scaled by the z position of the verts. So like from the back of the pipe all the way to the front, that's like one axis, and then we multiply how far along. So we multiply that and the pump value, and so you can think of my finger as like where we're at along the pipe as pump is increasing, and it's going like this, and then we're like scaling the verts along the normal the most at where my finger is. So it's like along the pipe, it's like the expanded part is like moving upwards along the pipe. That's kind of a weird explanation, but you can see it happening as this animation happens. Yeah, the most scaled part is like, or the most scaled down part is there, and then yeah, it's a little bit weird. But if you play around with the math, I show it on stream, but it's also on Twitter. Play around with the math, you'll get a better idea of how it works. So that was fun, and it solves that hard problem. And the pipe is disgusting people on Twitter, which I like, because it looks lewd, as people have said. Oh, the other thing in the Junkyard that I added this week is this entire like back section of the arena, the office. Previously, it was just like a big gray box, and I didn't change a ton about it. I just like added I did the UVs up so that this like metal slat tiles well vertically along or horizontally along this thing. I added black, like I made the window frame black and like added these blinds. Looks a little bit disheveled. Inside there's also like what looks to be an office, but if you go inside here, it's just like some shitty low poly desks and the same monitors that I use as garbage out here, but they're not like physicsed, and the same balls that I use as garbage, but they're all just like set static, so they bake light maps, and it looks good from outside. And there's also like I don't know if you can see this during the game, but there's like this window which like reflects a cube map of stuff around it. It's pretty low fidelity. It's a reflection probe, actually. Turn that up. Let's go nuts with the reflection probe. See what happens. If you're not familiar, the reflection probe is like it's basically like a bunch of baked data about the like environment surrounding this ball. It basically takes a picture in every direction, like maps that onto a sphere, and then everything in the environment can reference that when it's like calculating its reflection. Now if we look at this window, it should be, yeah, you can see like in higher detail, yeah, the background around it. I should probably turn up all of the reflection probes in the world. It's probably slower to read at runtime? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that stuff is processed in Unity, but technically everything should have just gotten slightly better looking. That monitor's definitely got higher resolution reflection now. So yeah, I added that office. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. It's a little bit desaturated, and that at first glance might not seem to match the rest of the game, but I think it really just like brings out how orange-red the like environment is and how green the cacti are. I kind of like that a lot. So in general, like a lot of the garbage is pretty desaturated, other than like that lamp, which is like purple. Not really happy with that purple, but may or may not change it. I also added these cacti this week. They're pretty low res. They definitely get the job done. I moved the grass around a bit to account for the cacti. I'm excited about these cacti because not only can I use them in this arena here, but I can also in adventure mode, I can also use them in the desert biome, which I haven't even started yet. But this, similar to how the aquarium is accessible through the sea and the bug museum is accessible through the jungle, there's going to be a desert thing over here, and the junkyard will be accessible through that desert. But now that I have these cacti, I can use them again in the overworld. So that'll be like an easy, as I'm laying out the space, I can use the cacti, and that'll be like an already done decoration for me, whereas with the other two areas, I had to basically make everything custom. Jungle especially was a huge pain in the ass to like model and texture all this foliage when I'd never done that before, and like make them animate nicely and like react to the player as you move through them. That was totally new. I'm gonna have to do not new stuff for the aquarium, but eventually I'm gonna have to actually like make these rocks for real, and like the process for that, which I already know is pretty slow and tedious. So it's just like I'm gonna spend a whole day like putting high quality looking rocks all over the place, and then going through and like deleting the back faces manually for everything. It's gonna suck, but it'll be worth it. I talked about that last week. So yeah, transition. There we go. The other big thing I worked on this week is adventure mode. And I've talked about what that is before, but I'll cover it briefly again. Adventure mode is like the single-player co-op mode of the game, which people who don't have a bunch of friends over and want to play competitively can play. The idea is you're playing a season of the nominal Sausage Sports Club, which is a reality TV show where these animals compete in sports and at finding hats and making friends. And so in adventure mode, you play through a season. Every day of the season, which is like 5 days or something, you have some number of quests that you can complete in the world. These quests are basically a vehicle by which I can introduce and relate the character of the different animals to you. So most of them will be like conflict oriented, where two animals disagree on something or don't like each other, or both want the same goal but they can't both have it, so they need to fight over it. And you'll come in, talk to them, hear what the conflict is. They'll ask for your opinion or ask for your help, and you have to pick a side and like help them. And it will almost always result in playing a sports match to decide the result of the conflict. That's the idea of it. And this week I've gotten farther along with that system of making it work, and I'll show you how that stuff works, or show you what that progress looks like. Okay, here's my boy. One thing that you would not recognize from me spawning in, but I notice every time, is that the camera now, when you start playing a match in the arenas or start in the overworld, the camera like snaps to where it's supposed to be, instead of spawning at like origin or something and then quickly flying over to where it's supposed to be. And that's a small change, and I don't know why I didn't make it sooner, but it makes a world of difference in just like usability. Okay, so let's talk to these guys. Ignore the tumbleseed boy. Okay, so there's definitely still issues with this, and I need to take another couple passes, but there are new dialogue boxes. They now, instead of trying to fit all dialogue into the one-size-fits-all box that I had before, now the box is resized to fit the dialogue that's there. So if you have a big line, like you can see now there's an extra line, so the box got bigger. Plants jittering in the background is distracting me. Yeah, so the box now resizes to fit dialogue. The box now has that nice gradient. You can see as text is coming in, it's like each character is scaling up, which has an interesting story behind it. The previous version of dialogue boxes would just like, or the previous dialogue reader would go over. You would have like a text string like this. It would say, "If it'll make me better, it's probably worth a try," and it would run over every character in the string and basically feed to the UI text component. Like it would add one more character and then send that string to the text, and the box would display that text. And then over the course of the whole string, you would eventually like add enough letters such that the whole string is in the UI box, and then your dialogue is read. But Unity has this cool feature of rich text and color tags, where you can define like, oh, I want this specific letter or this specific word or this string of words to be blue, whereas the rest of it is just the default color. I want to use that in different ways, like maybe keywords of character names or locations or something would be like specific colors, so that it makes it easier to recognize as important. And in the previous way of doing it, where one character gets added to the string at a time, if I'm adding color tags, if I'm like reading a piece of text with a color tag in it, until the color tag is fully into that string, it just like will show up. It would previously just show up as a bunch of garbage, like color tag, like bracket color equals number sign FF032 whatever, and that would look super weird, and obviously it's not acceptable. And so the change I made is, instead of adding one character at a time and like pushing that to the UI text, now I just give the UI text the entire string at once, and it displays all of the string the whole time. But what we do is in the mesh generation phase, where like the all the triangles that display this text, whenever those get generated, which in a UI text happens whenever the like dialog box moves, or if it's world text anytime the camera moves. In that generation step, or in our case, whenever every like 0.2 seconds when a new character is meant to be read by the dialogue reader, we can say like manually like, okay, now is the time to rebuild. So now the way it works is, and you can see this as they talk, the letters like scale up nicely, and that happens in the mesh rebuild step where each quad that draws each specific character is like scaled up over a few frames in like a nice tween where it like scales a little too big and then back down. Yeah, so it's in the mesh, all the verts are like scaled inwards towards the center until they're revealed by the dialogue reader, and then they like, there's a separate coroutine that just like scales all of them up. And that was fun to work on. It makes the dialogue boxes look a lot better. It's like a little bit fun to read now. Okay, here we can also see that the new emote system in action. And this is also attached to the dialogue system. And I'm going to jump out of this actually so I can show the authoring process before we go back in and look at them in action. Let's look at a quest, model makers. Okay, so besides the nice dialogue reading and the nice dialogue boxes, and I didn't mention this, but I also changed how the dialogue boxes get placed in the world. Previously, before this week, the boxes would every frame try to like position themselves so that they're not blocking any of the characters, and the logic was okay, but it's sometimes if the character is like leaning regularly, they might like move from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen, and then the dialogue box would be like, oh, you're like a little bit closer to me than you were before, like I'll move to another even farther away space. And so as the character was like waggling back and forth, the dialogue box would also be like waggling back and forth a little bit. So it was just constantly moving, making it hard to read. So what I changed to is when we start reading a chunk of dialogue, I teleport the camera to where it's going to be. Like it's, for each dialogue chunk, the camera is going to interpolate to like where it's going to be for like where it's supposed to be during that dialogue, but it doesn't happen instantaneously. But I want the dialogue boxes to behave and to like position themselves on the screen where they should be once the camera is done moving, if that makes sense. So before we do that transition, before we do that like interpolation to where the camera is supposed to be, I temporarily teleport the camera to where it's supposed to be and look at what it's supposed to look at, and then I calculate, then here's where the dialogue box is supposed to be. Then I move the camera back and then let it do its interpolation, but the dialogue box is like already popping up in the right spot, and that works much better. It's still I still need to do some work there where I don't know if you saw, but sometimes the dialogue box will like pop up over like the player character, or like too close to the like one of the talking characters. But that was a big improvement. It made the dialogue feel way better and like way more like way closer to a finished game. Okay, back to emotes. This week I added a system of emotes where for each dialogue line you can define a type of emote to display, which is just like basically emotions for the character that help them show their reaction to a situation better. And you can see on the right here, for every dialogue chunk, which is basically a line of dialogue, I can define some text, I can decide who says it, I can make it a choice. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to mess up this already written thing. And I can define a dialogue, or I can define an emote. And there's a bunch of options for emotes. They're all pretty simple, and all the art for these is still first pass. But let's set up here's what I'll do. I will make a new... I'll make a new one just to like test the system so we can see all the emotes in a row. Let's use... who should I use? Who's a character? Omnibus. Let's use Omnibus. Dialogue, test, quest. Dialogue button. Omnibus. Do this. Wow, look at my good words. Okay. So now I'll just add some of these. It's actually good because I haven't tested that all of them work as expected, so maybe we'll find one that just like looks really terrible. Maybe they all look really terrible. You'll see there's a loop toggle as well. So I can say for some of them, like I want the animation of or I want the particle effect to keep playing continuously until I skip to the next dialogue. With some things that doesn't make sense, like if I want the character to like throw up a heart above their head once as like kind of like a wink, or if I want them to like, I'll show you the exciting one. I'll add in like a loop version of these two so we can just see what they look like with and without looping. Glamour I like a lot. Surprise is okay. I might make the lines thicker in Surprise. Okay, so that's good. Let's generate a quest enum. Okay, so now I gotta add it here. Okay, that's good. Save projects. Alright, now we'll go look at it. And so the idea of this system is obviously that I want the characters to react better to situations and like show more of their character and make it easier to relate to them. And I think it's been really successful already. It's kind of highlighted some things that I need to improve about their dialogue. Like obviously the dialogue box placement is kind of bad, and the camera needed to be zoomed in more so you could see the reactions better. One thing I really want to do is make my character like move away from them enough that the camera is not gonna like be blocked by me. So we totally missed that first emote. It came up, but I just didn't see it. Yeah, so you can see he's looping love now. That's single anger, looping anger. Sad. That's funny. You can see that the particle is like over my character, and that's intentional. Some of the emotes, like this one, the embarrassed one, I want it to always be on top of their face, so it really looks like the like anime effect of like them being embarrassed. And because in any of these dialogues we can expect that the camera is only going, like the camera is not going to have that speaking character obscured. Like we don't have to worry about this emote like being seen through a rock wall or like being seen way across the level or anything, which is the natural worry of like using a shader that renders through everything. But for like so in this specific case, it works and it's good. Yeah, so this one, that excite, I call that excite, is one that makes sense to only do once, I think, and not loop, but it also works for loop. There's glamour. That was probably my favorite. Surprise. Yeah, I definitely am gonna make the lines thicker on this one. That one's kind of like surprise. There's tears. That one's fun. That actually works pretty well. This one's anxiety. It's just like breaking out in a cold sweat, or like something happens that you're like, you like makes you freeze up, seize up, get intense about. Okay, so that's all of them. And I'm pretty happy with the system. It only took a few hours to put together, and I'm gonna have to do another pass on like making those emotes look better. I especially don't like how plain the heart looks without like an outline, or I was thinking about using like a painterly brush or something to make it look more like hand drawn, or do a few frames and like make the particle a sprite, like do a sprite sheet so that it looks like the frames look hand drawn or something. I think that would be cool. So that's the emote. Another thing I didn't mention, which I can go back to here, is up until this week, going into when you do one of these quests, and you like talk to the characters, and then you get to the conflict, and then they're like, all right, let's duke it out to decide, and then the match would start. Up until this week, the match didn't actually load the characters into the match, and that was like dumb. And it was kind of hard to imagine what the game would be like, or what adventure mode would feel like without that. But now it works. Now you can now it loads you into the right team and you can play. And as soon as I got that working, I was like, wow, this is like gonna be a really cool thing. The game's gonna be really cool. It's gonna I do feel like I'm actually helping this guy, like Flop in this case, who's got the debug texture on. But I think it's turning out really cool, and people are gonna enjoy it. But it also highlighted a bunch of things that suck, or like could be very, very much improved, but they might be out of my scope at this point. One thing that became really clear is that during the match, if like the person, if somebody scores, they should do like some trash talk, like a dialogue box should pop up from Flop, and they should be like, aha, I'm never gonna, in this specific quest, one character is trying to get Flop to like write a rap tribute to them, and then it becomes clear that that's a trick to get them to write this tribute, and then Flop is like, no way, I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, I want characters, it seems like characters should be able to trash talk if they're beating the other opponent, and having that trash talk be context sensitive to the quest that you're on would feel really cool, and make this feel really real, and like you're really duking it out over the thing. And it would be kind of a like low effort to get that working, I think. But I definitely don't want the gameplay to be blocked by those dialogue boxes, and so I'm a little worried about that, and just adding more tasks to my list, even if they're easy to do, like takes away time that I could be using to do other tasks, so I'm worried about that. Another thing that this brought to my attention immediately is if I'm playing co-op with a few of my buddies, and I do this quest, and it's like Flop against Bonbon, Bonbon's alone. We're all going to be on a team against Bonbon, so in that situation where there's 4 of us human players and Flop is on our side and we're fighting with Flop, there's going to be one person on the other team, and that's like a crazy unfair soccer match. So I'm probably going to have to what I'm thinking in the solution is to define for every character in the story like 3 friends that they have, like 3 characters that they would be likely to relate to, and then if they need backup on their team, then they would just like have their friends spawn in. Sorry, I'm gonna plug my phone in here. Yeah, so that I think that's like an easy enough solution to that problem, even though it might not be like 100% clear during the match what's going on, because it's not gonna interrupt dialogue to be like, oh, let me go grab my buggies. They're just gonna be in the match. I could probably make them have like henchmen, kind of in the way I was talking about trash talk earlier. I could probably make them have like henchmen talk, where like in this case Bonbon's friend would be like, haha, we're gonna beat him, Bonbon. You'll be able to do the thing, and that would be easy to define per quest. Probably, it would still take time, but it'd be easy to do. And I think that's the big stuff. There's a lot of little stuff I did this week that's just like not that interesting, or if I got into all of it, it would just take an incredible amount of time. I'm looking at my. Bring this over. I don't know if there's. I'm not going to go over everything, but if you see anything in here that is interesting to you, I can talk about it. Yeah, there's a bunch of bug fixing. I talked about working on the crabs and the trash bots, I think 2 weeks ago, and I'm still like fighting bugs with those guys. I think the crabs are pretty good now. There's still like little like animation pops and stuff I want to fix, but low priority at the moment. Kill VFX, paint mode, update collision, Junkyard. Yeah, I'm just gonna call that done, and then I'll just get into chat and like answer questions and hang out. Thanks for hanging out. Like I said, that's the end of the weekly update. And alright. Okay. I'm looking at chat now. Hello, Philomath Shadow. Hello, Fudge, welcome. Hello, Tom. Hello, Clonic X. And Corgalion. Welcome. Okay. Fudge, yeah, there is a car with eyes. It's kind of an inside joke. And it's a joke Cars reference, but in the game, like, the camera never gets to that angle where you can see that side of the quad where the eyes are. So I just leave it in there to make myself laugh whenever I'm in the junkyard. Clinic X. I'm glad it makes you laugh. I'm glad it is motivating. Are you still around, Clinic X? Oh, did everybody leave? Interesting, I can't see the viewer list. Let me try popping that back out. Interesting, I can't see the viewer list. Pop out chat. Okay. Okay, cool. Oh, it looks like that Kunix guy left. Yeah, like I said, I'm done with the update. If anybody has questions, throw them at me. I'm just gonna be working on this frog for a couple hours. I might take a little bit of break to eat and then come back and do the frog. frog's name is Flop. What happened in chat, Fudge? In general, I'm trying to give all the characters like really simple names so that they're easy to say and easy to remember. Which is somewhat for kids, just because I know kids are going to like the game, and easy names are better for kids, and you know. The thought process. There's not gonna be explicit endings. I don't think it's just gonna be like what you might see at the ending of Mario Party, where like you either win or don't win, and then there's other characters who like are in second place and stuff. It's like the idea in general, the adventure mode, is that there's like a bunch of mini stories like Skyrim or something that are compelling in their own right, and like reveal the character of the animals to you in their own right, so that by the end you feel like you had made some friends, and like seeing them in the end of the adventure mode scene is like satisfying, and you can, if you want to know more about them, you can like play again and you'll get some different quests that weren't drawn from the random pile. But there's not like beginning, middle, end of the big story. Said Clonix left, hopped up to where he said, "Oh, okay." Sausage rim. That's funny. Did anybody know that guy? I feel bad that he was like interested in game development, and he was like asking about it, and then I like didn't respond. Probably should pay a little bit of attention to chat just to welcome people if they join. Wow, I forgot how to mirror. Oh my god. Mirror, there it is. There we are. Okay. Well, good for him that he's making games. Or bad for him. Bad for him, I guess. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. Man, what does that guy look like from the front? like get into it now and like actually focus on this. Oh, I can turn music on now that I'm not talking. I think I want a start playlist. This thing to have X-ray on. That's not what I want. Man, I don't know if there's a way to do what I want. Sure thing. Oh, I forgot I was going to take a break to eat. to add some more verts to this boy. Oh yes, apparently yes. Oh boy. Save.
How's the stream?
It's not much happening in chat.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like working and not looking too much. I think when I was talking about the game, I didn't look at chat and engage with people at all. So people like, that kind of like sets the tone of the stream a little bit.
Well, how many people were there?
There were probably 10.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
Started, dude.
yeah. I mean, it's been like a month. I've been doing it every week for a month.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't do every once a week, so you can't, like, expect a lot
Yeah.
of people. But, I mean, for once a week, that's pretty good.
There's definitely like mainstays, like Fudge is there every week.
There's what?
DigiFudge, the guy that designed the
yeah.
frog. My
Yeah, that's
bruh.
good. Like, yeah. It's cool when you have people like that.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the people aren't here. I can't see the frickin' viewer list. It keeps dying.
Huh?
I can't see the viewer list. It keeps like blanking out.
Oh.
Maybe there's only 2 people now.
What? The viewer list updates. Are you streaming right now?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Did you not realize that?
No, I thought you were done.
I usually end by like doing some work.
Oh.
I can still talk though, like just don't talk shit on anybody. I don't know. That's not an issue.
I was watching Brian play Zelda.
Yeah.
It looks so fun.
It looks so fun.
Yeah, I was like watching him for like an hour. Like I was ready to go,
Yeah.
and I just started watching him, and then I just couldn't stop.
It's good. If you want to borrow my Switch, you can probably.
Just borrow the whole stick.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, because you only have like 10 of them.
Yeah.
You can only play on one of them.
I don't know what you mean. I only have one Switch. Verbal wink. wanted to play freaking Splatoon, but it finally finished downloading, and then the thing was over. And so I had this like giant download that I couldn't play.
Isn't it already over when you start downloading it?
No, it was. I started downloading at like 6, and I didn't know that it was over at 7 when I started. It was basically doomed from the start. I don't know why Nintendo does those like 2-hour long.
It's only 2 hours.
Well, it was probably 4 hours, but it's still like, why even bother? It's only gonna be for a couple hours. Like anybody who is gonna buy Splatoon, like the only people who would be interested in that level where they would like know to go at the right time is like the people who are already gonna buy Splatoon. So I guess it could be like a network test for them.
Get one more edge loop.
Guys, my topology sucks real bad. Doing some social media posts real quick about the stream. Still working. Floop. Maybe the one like there. gotta make his mouth. Oh god. I'm not ready for that. Not sure what to do about his butt. To deal with now. probably deal with that. This is not a good way to do this. Fuck. Enter. I need a 5-way here. this topology at all. It is bad, I would say. Okay, now we're talking. Uh. Damn this frog butt. Oh man, this is taking very long. I feel like I'm still far from being done. think I'm gonna end the stream in like 5 minutes. Just getting hungry, and I didn't take that break before, and it was a mistake. I'm also not enjoying this process. This mouth is just gonna be such a pain. Alright, I'm shutting her down. Thanks for hanging out, y'all.